Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this first Fleet Europe news report. In this news report, we take you to the Fleet Europe Forum in Hamburg, and more specifically, to the Car Leasing Executive Debate.
6 top executives from the largest multi-brand car leasing companies share their views on new developments and trends that might impact the international fleet business and the future of car leasing.
An international presence is key to serve multinationals. And when we ask our 6 top executives for their priorities in their future expansion plans, the main one lies in Asia, with China as the future Eldorado.
Let's have a look at the current scope and expansion plans of Alphabet International, ALD International, Athlon International, Arval, G Capital International and LeasePlan International.
Asia is in the scope. Let's say the more mature markets basically are covered, I would say, by most of the really global companies. And places like China, places like Malaysia, places like Singapore are definitely in scope for our future. And then South America is something that we're still looking at.
Okay.
But we don't have any definite plan yet.
I don't expect an expansion, a dramatic increase in our footprint. We're really focused on getting more out of what we've got today. China's the one which we are looking at. I won't give you a time frame. But we have a joint venture in China with the State Grid, which covers the leasing product on equipment leasing. And it's not impossible we'll look at the fleet market.
We are aiming to add a 40th country very soon, and very soon is a flexible term, as you were saying, Jose, but hoping to add the 40th country not too long away from here.
And the name of that company?
That will be revealed at the latest, I would hope, at the next conference.
We have a midterm plan till 2017, in which we want to grow with 4 other countries. In Europe, Asia is definitely the first continent that we're going to take a look at.
Our policy is to follow the requirement of our international customer and to try to expand in the neighboring area of where we are already. This is why we opened Kazakhstan, to follow our customers in Russia, asking for solution in the neighboring area. And for next year, we plan to start operation in Chile. We already have a company there, but we can't operate, and we plan to be operational probably end of Q1 next year.
We will be in China in 2015, so be very concrete rather than vague. We're looking more in the eastern side, and we're already able to help our customers in many other countries over corporations that we do have.
So it is clear that expansion is on everyone's agenda. And China seems to be the market where car lease suppliers see strong business opportunities.
No wonder, as China is currently already the largest new car sales market. The ideological and economic change in China has created a new world of business opportunities for local and international corporations. Looking at the corporate fleet market, the current share in China accounts for around 10% of total sales, compared to around 25% in the US and 35% in Europe. So the room for growth in China is substantial and the opportunity for the leasing industry significant.
China is definitely a promising car fleet market, but it is also a young and immature one compared to Europe, with different challenges and hurdles still to overcome to make China the right spot for car leasing. With more than 30 provinces and other administration divisions with proper regulation and legislation, applying a consistent fleet management policy isn't easy. be it for fleet customers or fleet suppliers. But isn't Europe similar somehow?
Well, it's true that Europe is also a patchwork of legal and fiscal rules. And the Europe-based leasing companies, well, they know how to deal with this complexity. But China is of another order, as rules can change overnight, so it is essential to be flexible in order to be successful.
A definite hurdle is the difficulty regarding the license plates in the biggest Chinese cities like Beijing, Shanghai and others. To control traffic congestion and battle pollution, these cities issue a limited number of new license plates each year, based on an auction or lottery system with prices up to 12,000 euros.
And this brings us with the fact that today the price and the value of a company car is not in balance with the average salary of most employees in China. And the cost of public transport is still very low. So company cars are offered to top management and executives.
We may hope that from the moment the first international companies will introduce the company car concept to a larger range of employees, there will be a boom. But talking to some international fleet managers from pharma, IT and consultancy, there are no immediate plans to give a company car to a broader job level field in China. Company mobility schemes may even come before the traditional company car.
The combination of traffic congestion, pollution, low buying power and complex infrastructure would indeed welcome new mobility solutions, which, while in Europe, are taking off relatively slowly. So let's keep a close eye on China.
Definitely. But coming back on the geographical scope, international fleet owners are also expecting more supplier penetration in Latin American markets. Besides Brazil, there is Mexico and Chile, for example. And also some other Asian markets are mentioned, like the Philippines, Thailand and Indonesia.
Moving on to another issue that we tackled during the car leasing debate, the future of full-service leasing and company car. We presented our panel members some statements, and let's look at the outcome.
We need to define who is the customer. No? Are we talking about procurement staff? Are we talking about fleet managers? Are we talking about HR divisions? Are we talking about drivers? And I would imagine that the answer would be different according to the one we talk to. Probably if we talk to a procurement, which actually is taking a bigger role day after day in our business, they would probably tend to consider that we are a commodity. If you talk to drivers, I would say that they certainly do not consider us other commodities.
Fleet's one of our least commodity-like products. You know, it's not a money over money decision. There's plenty of service, long-term customer relationships, and the level of account management that you provide, particularly on international accounts, really matters. So I don't see it, you know, on a comparative basis as looking like a commodity product.
Are we not altogether a bit too much in the old economy, so to speak, if you look at the Googles and Apples and what comes about today in the world? And are we already preparing enough to be in the new economy? That's much more a question for me. And if we kept up with that and we look at things rising around us, then we would maybe be positioned much better.
For years, corporate clients have been looking for optimization and cost control with the question to bundle or to unbundle, depending on cost efficiency, internal resources and corporate strategy. Fleet suppliers are responding with a wider variety of finance products and services, such as offering fleet management services only. Despite all these dynamics, car leasing suppliers are convinced of the further success of their full-service leasing concept.
Going back to 2008, we have been collectively, on the basis that I could check, collectively we've been growing by 2.5% per year. And I would say throughout a crisis period, that's not so bad. So Of course, we've all been suffering, and most clients, I think, in the room here know that some have been deflating, so that's not always easy, but 2.5% is not too bad, I would say, over the last 5 years. Having said that, and we should also look at the most recent development, so 2014 year to date, if you want, compared to 2013, we see that indeed there's a lot of growth again in the true fleets, but also full service leasing is following that trend.
Full service leasing is, I would say, an efficiency related service. It's not a financial product, and I think that probably none of the ones sitting here like to think that we really provide a financial service. The outsourcing trend is very, very strong and is based on a very simple principle, which is that if something is not your core business, it's probably more efficient to hire a specialist to do it than to do it yourself. Now, in the level that a company believes that, then our business will keep on growing because we are the specialists.
Fleet managers that outsource want to keep a close eye on the different cost elements of the car leasing contract. So the quest for transparency is definitely on.
We would like to have transparency. The complexity comes from the fact that the product we sell is a combination of 3 kinds of very different products. First one is finance, the second one is insurance, and the third one are services. And I think that there is a confusion in between the fact that the price is not easy to read and the fact that we may be willing to hide the price. We would be very comfortable if we could split and explain exactly the way we calculate the price. But it's difficult because it's not a straightforward product. It's an integrated product.
Where I think we have still to learn a little bit as an industry is in the transparency of the value delivered. I think that as an industry we are much better at delivering value than at proving, showing and measuring that value. And I think that that transparency is what we are all going to work more and more in the coming times, because it's the balance between the cost and the value that any good client wants to choose from.
Let's have a look at alternative mobility now and the shift from owning a car to using one. Will this trend be a game changer for our industry? Well, yes. The only uncertainty is the timing.
Mobility has to change, and it will change in many directions, which is why I think when you ask 5 people what mobility means for them, you get about 7 different responses. It'll mean there'll be more home working, there'll be more video conferencing. I mean, I was in a video conference yesterday. I was stunned by the quality of it, just from a simple in-room installation. And this is really a feature of the past 3-4 years. So I think there are plenty of powerful forces at work that will change the way we work, and it will change the demands for company cars. In the short term, I don't have our sales folk and our customers pounding the door down for mobility solutions. I think people are trying to identify where mobility will play. So short term, you see, we're making some experiments with different mobility solutions, but it's not material in the impact on the business. Longer term, this is the one that has the power to be extremely disruptive.
Technology and connectivity support the shift towards mobility management, and the leasing industry is convinced that connectivity will lead the way to a new car fleet era. Mobility is the key word.
This is the beginning of new economy. If you look at the development in the world, which shows a lot of more urbanization. I mean, in 10 or 15 years, 75% of all people will live in cities. Then you will not own a car anymore, but you will probably only use a car. And you maybe use the car with somebody else, which is what we know now. There's the famous car sharing. I think that telematics and information coming from the car is very key to build your full business model on.
In terms of competition, we will have to find a business model which combines fleet management and full service leasing in a more efficient way than it is working right now.
We will see an iconic change again. I mean, we will see more and more car usage instead of car ownership, whether that is in professional life or companies or even privately. So I see that as a clear trend. And indeed, we need to formulate answers on short-term mobility, mid-term mobility, long-term, and even this car sharing phenomenon. And then I see a very, very bright market for this industry.
We will have to make conscious decisions how fast we invest on these emerging trends. Technology is one of them. Mobility in the broadest sense is definitely another one. And that will be each of us deciding as much as possible on a rationalized basis to, on the one hand, make sure that the scale is there and the value proposition stays as relevant as possible for our clients. And on the other hand, indeed, investing for the future.
Europe has a peculiarity. I mean, it's not by chance that it's the biggest car leasing or fleet management market in the world. I mean, the level of infrastructure, the wealth distribution, the networks, the roads, the communication is totally unparalleled in any other part of the world, with the density of people and all the circumstances put together. That will drive that our business will have to keep reinventing itself all the time. I have very high hopes that we'll meet the match.
Despite the growing global interest, Europe remains at the center of all concerns when it comes to the future development of our industry.
If our industry can embrace the challenges around technology, connectivity, mobility and globalization, new business competition can be expected, and we can really shift from the old to the new economy.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being with us today. Don't hesitate to share your thoughts with us on our website and on our social media networks. And stay tuned to the latest fleet news. Follow us on fleeteurope.com.